I still remember her scent, lavender tangled with something sharper, like ambition dressed in perfume. Samantha danced across campus lawns, mortarboard tilted, smile sharper than champagne. Her robe caught the wind. People clapped, cheered, flashed photos. I stood beneath the clock tower, watching, lost in our history. She never looked back. We met in autumn, surrounded by orange leaves and coffee steam. She borrowed my lighter. I didn't smoke, but I carried one for aesthetics. She laughed when I said that. We walked together that day, then every day after. Samantha had eyes like promises, ones that never truly get kept. She studied law. I chased poetry. She liked deadlines, contracts, justice. I liked jazz, bookstores, late-night ramen. But opposites, they say, spark. And we sparked. Long walks turned to candlelit dinners. That turned into shared apartments, midnight whispers, promises spoken between forehead kisses. We married before either of us understood forever. For a while, love hid the cracks. She'd stay up reading legal journals. I'd sit by the window, scribbling nonsense onto napkins. She called it adorable. I thought her seriousness was sexy. We fit, even if the seams were stitched from compromise. When she smiled, I believed we'd last. But people evolve. Or maybe they just reveal. Law school devoured her. Long nights. Big names. Partners with expensive ties. Her voice changed, faster, colder. She drank more espresso. Slept less. Stopped reading fiction. Started correcting my metaphors. Her affection slipped into routine. Pecks instead of kisses, nods instead of conversation. She'd leave early, return late, murmur apologies. Once, I left a poem on her desk, sealed in a red envelope. She never mentioned it. I should have known then. We stopped touching except in bed, and even there, the rhythm shifted, urgent, thoughtless. Lust without love. She came home smelling like vanilla and foreign cologne. I told myself it was courtrooms, taxis, clients. But I wasn't blind. I just wasn't brave. Then came the night of her graduation. The ceremony was packed. Strangers. Suit. Success. I sat near the back, alone. She stood on stage, radiant. Her speech soared. She mentioned mentors, family, even her dog growing up. Not one word about me. Afterward, she hugged her professors. Took photos with classmates. When she reached me, it was quick. "You hungry?" I asked. "I'm going out with them," she replied, eyes scanning elsewhere. "Later, maybe?" She didn't answer. I walked home alone. She didn't come back that night. 2 days later, a manila envelope waited on the kitchen table. Inside, divorce papers. No note. No explanation. Just the legal truth in ink and signature lines. I stared at the papers for hours. She didn't return. I didn't call. Some part of me, a quiet, defeated part, understood. Maybe she had been gone for months already, just in stages. This was just the final breath. I signed. She kept everything. The apartment, car, furniture. Even the espresso machine I bought her on our second anniversary. I packed a duffel with essentials. Underwear, notebooks, a chipped mug she once called hideous but charming. I left a letter. Nothing dramatic. Just, "I hope you find what you're looking for." Then I vanished. Cities became numbers. I stopped using my name. Worked odd jobs, bartender, dishwasher, even taught creative writing at a halfway house for a while. I lived in basements, attics, once in a van behind a jazz bar. I never stayed long. I wasn't running from her. I was running from the man I had been with her. Sex came easy, but love didn't follow. I had flings, some wild, others forgettable. A married woman named Elise cried in my arms for an hour after. A grad student asked me to tattoo poetry on her thigh. A drifter named Raven smoked cloves while riding me in a laundromat bathroom. But none of them were Samantha. Every now and then, I'd Google her. Once, I found a photo, her firm's website. Power suit. Fake smile. She looked successful. Cold. Unreachable. I never contacted her. Time passed. Hair grayed at my temples. My writing improved. I got a small inheritance when my mother died and used it to open a used bookstore in a coastal town nobody cared about. I called it Pages of Dust. It felt honest. I lived quietly, wrote by candlelight, sold books to strangers who didn't ask questions, slept with whoever didn't want strings. Life didn't heal, but it hurt less. 10 years. Exactly 10. It was a Tuesday. Rain tapped my windows like impatient fingers. I was sorting through old hardcovers when the bell above the door jingled. I looked up. She stood there. Same eyes. Same scent. Older. Tired. Beautiful. Samantha? I said, though I already knew. She stepped forward. I've been looking for you. I didn't speak. I made a mistake, she added. My heart didn't race. It sank. And just like that, after 10 years of silence, wandering, and pain, my past stepped back into the room like it never left. She stood soaked beneath the frame, the rain clinging to her like an apology that came too late. I didn't move. Couldn't. Her presence was a time machine with cracked dials and no safety glass. She looked older, creases near her mouth, sadness between her brows. But her voice? Still razor-sharp velvet. "Can I come in?" she asked, eyes searching. I gestured silently, stepping aside. She passed me like a ghost, once mine, still familiar, now unknown. She looked around. Wooden shelves. Flickering lanterns. The type of silence that books understand. "This place feels like you," she whispered. I closed the door. "You said you were looking for me." She turned. 4 years. Why? She didn't answer immediately. Her fingers traced a spine. "Wolf, I think," then dropped to her side. "Because I was wrong," she said. Silence stretched between us, tight as violin strings. I crossed my arms. "I didn't fight," I admitted. "When you left." "I know." I almost asked if she expected me to chase her back then. Or beg. But I stayed silent. The rain outside softened. A storm inside me brewed. She walked over to the counter, fingertips grazing every surface. "I missed your handwriting," she said suddenly. "I still have your letter." "You left without a word," I replied. "That letter was all I had. I read it 100 times. I thought you hated me." She shook her head, eyes wet. "I hated who I was around you, back then. I didn't know how to be both in love and ambitious. You chose ambition. And lost both." I felt something shift in me, grief, maybe, rising from its grave. She glanced at my left hand. "You never remarried?" I smirked. "Hard to do when you stop believing in things." "I don't blame you." She looked at the shelves again. "You always wanted a place like this. And you always wanted billboards. I got them. You happy?" She hesitated. "I was functional. And now?" She finally looked at me. "Now I'm broken." We stood there, breathing each other in like smoke. "I'm not the same man you left," I warned. "I wouldn't want you to be." Lightning flashed. She jumped. It felt like a rewind. She always hated storms. "Stay," I said before thinking. She nodded. We moved like strangers in a memory, quiet, uncertain, but undeniably tethered. I made tea. She watched me, eyes flicking over every movement, like each gesture was a language she once knew but had forgotten. Over mugs of Darjeeling, she opened slowly, painfully. Her marriage, to a senior partner. Loveless. Routine. Dull sex. No children. A miscarriage she never grieved properly. Long nights staring at expensive ceilings, wondering why happiness was always in the rear view. "His hands never felt like yours," she said quietly. I felt my breath catch. She noticed. We sat in silence again, until she asked the question that shifted everything. "Did you ever stop loving me?" I didn't lie. No. That broke her. She leaned over, covered her face. Not the elegant tears of courtroom breakdowns. This was messy, real, gut-deep sorrow. I moved around the counter and held her. It was instinct. Her body fit mine. Same shape, aged together apart. Her breath hitched against my neck. I closed my eyes and remembered her heartbeat like an old, favorite song. Her lips found mine. Slow. Testing. Regret wrapped in desire. I didn't stop her. The kiss deepened. Her hands curled into my shirt. My fingers slid beneath her coat, brushing skin that trembled. 10 years disappeared. I pulled her toward the back room, past shelves and memories. Clothes fell with urgency. Breathing turned to gasp. She clung to me like forgiveness. I entered her and it was like coming home after wandering through foreign landscapes. She moaned my name, my name. No one else existed. The years apart, the pain, the blame, all drowned beneath that moment. Flesh against flesh. Guilt against lust. We moved like two people desperate to rewrite history through sweat and skin. After, we lay tangled on the floor, bodies slick with old sin. She whispered, "I've waited for that since the day I walked out." I said nothing. I stared at the ceiling, wondering what it meant that I let her back in so easily. Wondering if I ever really let her out. Her fingers brushed my chest. "Do you regret it? Do you?" "No," she said. "But I'm afraid." "Of what?" "That it's too late." I turned to her. "Is it?" She didn't answer. I watched her fall asleep beside me. She looked peaceful, vulnerable, human. I, on the other hand, stayed awake, staring into shadows, wondering if love was a cycle or a punishment, because she came back to me. But something told me, this was far from over. She stayed. That first night melted into morning, and morning stretched into days. Samantha moved through my small apartment above the bookshop like a woman trying to remember how to belong somewhere. She cooked once, scrambled eggs that tasted nothing like I remembered. She left her toothbrush in my bathroom. She folded her sweaters beside mine. It felt unreal. We didn't talk about what we were. She didn't mention the man she married. I didn't ask. I couldn't. But in the quiet, in between the tea and the touch, I saw cracks. Sometimes I'd catch her standing in the hallway, lost in thought, fingers curled like she was holding back words too heavy to speak. At night, she touched me like she was desperate to prove something. Her hunger wasn't romantic. It was ravenous, clawing, primal. We made love like survivors, each climax a scream into the void. The third night, she pulled me onto the floor beside the front desk. "No beds," she whispered, biting my lip. "This is about now." We didn't speak after. Just sweat and silence. One morning, I woke early, made coffee, watched her sleep. Her body curled in my sheets, hair tangled, her leg thrown over my old leather jacket like she was still claiming territory. But I noticed her ring was still gone. No mark. No tan line. As if that chapter had never existed. She stirred. I watched her sit up, stretch, glance at me. "You're staring. You're here." Still weird. No. Terrifying. She grinned. "That's fair." I handed her the mug. She took a long sip, then leaned against my shoulder. "I think I forgot what peace feels like." "You left it behind." She didn't argue. Later, she stood naked in front of the mirror, tracing scars I didn't remember. One above her hip, another near her shoulder blade. I touched them gently. "What are these?" "Life," she said. She never elaborated. We had a rhythm now. She read in the shop during the day, curled in the armchair by the poetry shelves. Sometimes customers asked if she was my wife. I said no. She always looked away. At night, we tangled again, on the couch, against the window, once in the dusty backroom storage among unsold paperback. Her hands searched me like I held answers she'd buried long ago. But guilt crept in. One evening, I returned from picking up wine and found her on the phone outside the store. She didn't hear me approach. Her voice was low, shaky. "No, I'm not coming back. I told you I needed space. No, you don't get to call now, because you didn't care before." Pause. "I don't know what I want." Pause. "No, he doesn't know. And don't you dare say his name." I stepped back before she saw me. Inside, I poured 2 glasses. She entered, her expression wiped clean. I didn't mention the call. She didn't mention the silence between us. That night, her kiss tasted like distraction. During sex, she cried. I didn't stop. Afterward, I asked, "Are you still his?" Her body stiffened. I don't know. I looked away. Then what are we doing? She sat up, wrapped a blanket around herself. Surviving. Maybe healing. Or breaking each other again. She didn't deny it. The next morning, she was gone. No note. No explanation. Just the echo of her scent on my sheets, the imprint of her hips on my pillow, and her unfinished tea on the counter. It should have hurt more. But numbness is its own kind of heartbreak. I spent the day watching rain blur the shop windows. Customers came and went. A teenager bought a tattered copy of The Bell Jar. An old man argued about Faulkner. But inside me, something shifted. That night, I drank until the world softened. At midnight, she returned. Soaked, shivering, breathless. I went back, she said. Why? I thought closure would help. And he kissed me. The room spun. I didn't speak. Just stared. I pulled away, she added quickly. I slapped him. Told him I loved someone else. I laughed bitterly. Do you? She walked to me. Took my hand. Pressed it to her chest. You've always lived here, she said. I pulled away. You're not mine, I said. I want to be. But you're still bleeding. I don't care. I do. She collapsed to her knees, head bowed. Then tell me what to do. I knelt with her. Lifted her face. Be honest, I said. Start there. I still dream about you, she whispered. Even when I was married, your name would slip out. I kissed her forehead. Then don't lie to yourself again. That night we didn't make love. We just held each other. It was the first time I believed maybe, just maybe, we weren't rewriting the past. We were writing something new. But not everything buried stays buried. And as we slept, the door beneath us, the one we thought we closed 10 years ago, began to creak open again. The next morning, a black car parked across the street. It stayed. I noticed it while pouring coffee, the kind that smelled burned but tasted like memory. Samantha sat barefoot in my flannel shirt, humming some old jazz tune she'd never remember the name of. I didn't say anything about the car. Not yet. That afternoon, the bell above the shop door rang. It wasn't a customer. He wore a tailored suit, black tie, hair slicked too neatly. His jaw tightened like he was chewing on something he couldn't swallow. His eyes, gray, surgical, sliced through the shelves before landing on me. You're the poet. I'm the owner. Same thing, he said, walking forward. Samantha was upstairs. I could hear her soft footsteps above, unaware. The man stopped a foot from the counter. I'm Daniel, he said. I didn't shake his hand. I figured. His smile didn't reach his eyes. May I? No. He chuckled. Charming. I folded my arms. You followed her? She told me where she was. She told me she slapped you. She did, he said, adjusting his cufflinks. I deserved it. So why are you here? To see what she threw 10 years away for. I let that sit between us like a lit fuse. She didn't leave for me, I replied. She left for herself. She came back for something real. He looked around the store again. This place smells like failure. It smells like freedom. He sneered. She was never meant for dust and forgotten stories. She chose this dust. She's confused. She's not your possession. I married her. And broke her. We locked eyes. She's mine, he said, quiet but deadly. She's no one's but her own. Silence. Then, he pulled a phone from his pocket. Pressed a button. Samantha's voice echoed through the speaker. Muffled, frantic. Her saying my name. Her begging. Her crying. Then silence. A door slamming. I recorded her panic. Congratulations, I muttered. You've weaponized pain. He leaned closer. You think you've won something, don't you? I didn't answer. She'll leave you again, he said. Just like before. Only this time, she won't come back. I waited until he turned to leave. Tell me something, I said. He stopped at the door. When you touched her, I asked, did she ever say my name? He flinched, then vanished. That night, I didn't tell her about the visit. But I kissed her longer, deeper, as if kissing away a shadow. She sensed something. Are we safe? She whispered. No such thing, I said. Later, we lay in the dark. I listened to her breathing, steady, trusting. But mine raced. My mind ran laps around the confrontation, around her return, around the question clawing at the back of everything. Is love strong enough to survive what we did to each other? She stirred beside me. Her fingers reached for mine in the dark. I held her. I wanted to believe again. But belief is fragile. And love, when twisted by lust and betrayal, becomes something unrecognizable. A weapon. A wound. A home. The next morning, she found a note slipped beneath the front door. 2 words. Come outside. She stared at it, then me. Her hands trembled. I took it from her. Tore it. We're not playing his games. But she looked unsure. Her eyes glassed. Do you want to leave? I asked. No, she said. But I'm scared. I walked her to the window, showed her the sunlight pouring through old curtains. This, I said, is ours. She kissed me, slow and soft. But something broke that day. A kind of invisible wall built itself between us. Her silence grew. Her laughter came less often. She started locking the bathroom door. Began walking at dusk alone. Her phone stayed face down. She jumped when it vibrated. One night, I woke up alone. I found her on the rooftop, barefoot in the cold, looking at stars. You okay? I asked. She nodded, not turning. I feel like I'm still choosing, she whispered. Choosing what? Who I really am. And him? I asked. Not him, she said. The version of me I was with him. I don't know if she's really dead. I stepped closer. What about the version you are with me? She turned. She's still bleeding. I didn't answer. We stood in the dark, broken by old choices, stitched loosely by the new. We kissed again. Not lust, not victory. Just 2 wounded people, desperate for a language only they understood. She whispered into my mouth, Don't stop loving me. I won't, I said. But promises made on rooftops are like wishes tossed into wells. They echo beautifully, but they don't always rise back up. Nights became longer. Not because of clocks or seasons, but because of tension, the kind that turns skin electric, breath shallow, eyes restless. Samantha drifted beside me in bed like a woman haunted by a memory she hadn't shared. I didn't push. I just watched. We stopped talking during breakfast. We still had sex, but it wasn't the same. Her movements were mechanical, her moans quieter, her eyes closed longer. Sometimes she whispered things in the dark that I didn't understand. Names I didn't recognize. Phrases that sounded like confessions. One night, she climbed on top of me, more aggressive than usual. Her fingers dug into my chest, her teeth scraped my shoulder. She rode me like she wanted to erase something. I didn't stop her. I took every frantic motion, every gasping thrust, pretending it was love, but it wasn't. It was punishment. After, she curled up and cried silently. I pretended to sleep. 2 days later, I found a pair of earrings on the sink. Not hers. Not mine. I waited until she came home. You had someone here? She asked before I could say anything. I held up the earrings. She froze. Those aren't mine. I know. Her face drained of color. You don't trust me. You shouldn't be asking that. You should be telling me why a stranger left jewelry on my sink. I don't know. I watched her, measured every twitch of her jaw, every flicker of her gaze. Did you invite someone here? I asked. No. Was it him? No. Then who? She said nothing. Walked away. That was worse than shouting. Worse than tears. That night, she didn't come to bed. I found her asleep in the shop, curled in a blanket behind the poetry section, like some sad metaphor waiting to be interpreted. I stood over her, whispering, "Why did you come back?" Her eyes stayed closed. The next morning, she made pancakes, acted normal, kissed my neck. I didn't kiss back. We were unraveling again, but this time slower, with more precision. Like surgeons cutting out love with sterile hands. The next time we had sex, I kept my eyes open the entire time. Hers were closed. After, I went for a walk. Ended up at the bar down the street. Ordered bourbon. Neat. That's where I met Lena. She sat 2 stools over. Red hair. Black leather jacket. A laugh that sounded like rebellion. She leaned over after her second drink and asked, "Who broke you?" I laughed. She smiled. "So it's that obvious?" To me. We talked. She asked nothing personal. She didn't try to fix me. Just touched my hand and said, "If you want to forget something, I'm very good at that." We ended up at her apartment. It was fast. Animal. Violent. She scratched my back so deep I bled. I bit her shoulder. She pulled my hair. We didn't say names. We didn't fake love. Just lust. Raw. Brutal. Honest. When it was over, she lit a cigarette, handed it to me. I didn't smoke. I took it anyway. "Feel better?" she asked. "No." "Good," she said. "Means you still have a soul." I left before sunrise. Walked home. Showered. Scrubbed hard. I didn't feel clean. Samantha was at the kitchen table. "You smell like perfume," she said without looking up. "I know." She poured coffee. Said, "Is it done?" "Depends. On you." She finally looked at me. Her eyes were tired. Hollow. "Tell me you love me." "I did," I replied. "That's not what I asked." I sat across from her. "I don't know what this is anymore." She nodded. "I slept with someone," she said softly. I froze. "When?" "The day I left the earrings," she admitted. "So it was yours?" "No. Hers." I blinked. "You." I was angry. Drunk. Confused. She looked like me 10 years ago. Silence. "Did it help?" I asked. "No. It ruined something." "What?" "Hope." I laughed, bitter and low. "You always ruin the good things." She didn't deny it. We didn't speak again for hours. That night, I sat in the bookstore long after closing. Lit candles. Read old letters she once wrote me back in college. Her handwriting was cleaner then. Her words clumsier, more honest. One line kept repeating in my head. "I don't know how to love without breaking something." I understood now. Lena called me the next evening. I didn't answer. Samantha cooked. She tried to dance in the kitchen like she used to. I watched her movements, fluid, aching, desperate. I didn't join in. Instead, I asked, "Are you still in love with me?" She hesitated. "Yes," she said. "But I'm afraid I don't deserve you anymore." "Good," I replied. "Because I'm not sure I deserve you either." We stood across the room from each other. Not touching. Not speaking. Just breathing. 2 guilty lovers trapped in the ruin of something once beautiful. I whispered, "We're not healed." She whispered back, "No. But we're honest now." The next morning, the bookstore caught fire. I'll tell you how next. The alarm rang at 4:12 a.m. Not the shrill digital one beside the bed. This was raw, urgent fire. Sirens. Screams from nearby windows. Smoke clawed through the air like a vengeful ghost. I bolted up. Samantha wasn't beside me. My feet hit the floor. I reached for jeans, stumbled down the stairs, heart detonating with every step. The smoke was thick, black, alive. The bookstore was burning. Flames curled up the wooden walls like memories trying to consume themselves. Pages floated in the air, blackened butterflies surrendering to heat. The fire hadn't come from outside. It had started somewhere deep inside the building. The back room, where we used to lie naked, tangled, pretending guilt didn't exist. Samantha stood across the street, barefoot, coat slipping off her shoulders, face painted in orange glow. I ran to her. You okay? I shouted, grabbing her. She didn't answer. Her eyes stayed locked on the fire. I tried to stop it, she whispered. It was too fast. What happened? I don't know. She wasn't crying. That scared me. We watched it together. The place that held our love, our rage, our past, gone. Books reduced to ash. Letters unread. Stories unfinished. A decade of distance, then a few weeks of rediscovery, now smoldering under city sky. The firemen worked fast. It didn't matter. Nothing could be saved. A man approached. One of the investigators. Faulty wiring in the storage room, he said. Old fuse box. Happens. I nodded, barely hearing him. Samantha reached for my hand. I didn't pull away. We stayed with a friend of hers. Marla, a therapist with too many throw pillows and a fridge full of almond milk. Samantha said she'd help us reset. I wasn't sure what that meant. We slept in the same bed, but barely touched. Talked in fragments. Ate meals slowly, like chewing through silence. 3 days after the fire, I found her in the shower, crying. I think I burned it, she whispered. I leaned against the door. What? The bookstore. Everything. You said it was the wiring. She didn't reply. I stared at the door for a long time. Listening. Trying to understand if she meant it metaphorically, or if she had actually done something. Part of me didn't want to know. A week passed. I started writing again. Words poured out of me, messy, furious, hungry. I wrote about her. About the fire. About betrayal with soft hands and kisses that left bruises. I didn't show her. She spent most of her time walking, reading, drinking tea. She looked healthy, but her eyes had that empty tint again, like when she first arrived. One night, she said, I think I'm leaving. I didn't ask where. I've been living as two people, she continued. One who wanted everything, and one who couldn't hold anything. Which one am I talking to? The one who finally knows she can't keep doing this to you. I sat on the couch, holding the mug she made that morning. Her lipstick still on the rim. You left me once, I said. Then came back broken. And now you're leaving again? No, she whispered. I'm walking away before I break us both again. I thought we were healing. We were surviving. I nodded. What changed? I remembered who I really am, she said. And who you still are. And they don't fit together anymore. I stood. Walked to her. She looked up at me. I didn't kiss her. I just pressed my forehead to hers. Felt the weight of 10 years' balance between our breath. I'll always love you, I said. I know, she said. And I'm sorry. She left in the morning. No dramatic goodbye. Just a handwritten note tucked into my jacket pocket. No promises. No apologies. Just a line that read, You loved me past my expiration. I'll never forget that. 10 months later, I rebuilt the bookstore. New name. New shelves. New wiring. Same soul. I didn't put her photo anywhere. But I kept one book she annotated, The Unbearable Lightness of Being. She had underlined a sentence. Loves are like empires. When the idea they are founded on crumbles, they, too, fade away. I stared at it sometimes. Not in pain. In peace. Lena stopped by once. We talked. Laughed. Didn't sleep together. She told me I looked lighter. I told her I burned down my past. She winked. Accidentally or on purpose? I didn't answer. 1 year after the fire. A letter arrived. From her. No return address. Just a postcard. A photo of a beach somewhere warm. Windswept, quiet. The back said, I found peace. I hope you did too. Thank you for loving me when I couldn't love myself. And beneath it, in her unmistakable handwriting, P.S. I'm still reading your poetry. I placed it in the drawer, under the register. That evening, a young couple walked in. They held hands. Smiled at each other with that dumb, dangerous kind of love I remembered so well. They asked for something real. I handed them a collection of Neruda. They left laughing. I stood alone in the store. Light filtering through the front window. Everything smelled like ink and pinewood. Not ash. Not regret. Just something new. I poured tea. Sat behind the counter. And wrote the next poem.